Your soulmate is saying, before I disappear, there's something you must know. Broken heart sparkles. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, and your heart needs this right now, because your soulmate has been carrying a truth inside them for much longer than anyone realizes. A truth they tried to ignore. A truth they tried to explain away. A truth they convinced themselves would eventually disappear on its own. But it never did. And now, standing at a crossroads, they feel like they can no longer leave without saying what has been weighing on their heart. And listen to this. For a very long time, they believed silence was the safest option. Silence protected them from vulnerability. Silence protected them from rejection. Silence protected them from uncertainty. Every time they thought about speaking honestly, fear stepped in. Every time they thought about opening their heart, doubt appeared. Every time they imagined telling you the truth, they convinced themselves it wasn't the right moment. So they waited. And waited. And waited. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Months became years. Yet somehow the feelings never faded. Because your heart needs this right now, because genuine emotions don't always disappear with time. Sometimes time reveals them. Sometimes time strengthens them. Sometimes time proves they were real all along. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that now. And listen to this. Lately, something has changed. They've started reflecting on everything more deeply than ever before. The memories. The conversations. The moments that once seemed ordinary. The feelings they never fully explored. The questions they never answered. And during those moments of reflection, one realization keeps returning. No matter how far they try moving away from the past, certain memories remain. No matter how busy life becomes, certain thoughts remain. No matter how much time passes, certain people remain. And somehow, every road keeps leading back to the same person. You. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaningful connections leave traces. Not obvious traces. Invisible ones. The kind that appear during quiet moments. The kind that return unexpectedly. The kind that remind us of what truly mattered. Your soulmate has been seeing those traces everywhere. And listen to this. There were nights when they convinced themselves everything was over. Nights when they told themselves to move forward. Nights when they promised they would stop looking back. Yet somehow, the next day would arrive and the same thoughts would return. The same memories. The same emotions. The same unanswered questions. At first, they found it frustrating. Then confusing. Then exhausting. Now, they simply find it impossible to ignore. Because eventually the heart becomes louder than denial. Eventually truth becomes stronger than avoidance. Eventually silence stops working. Your soulmate feels like they have reached that point. And your heart needs this right now, because sometimes the hardest truths are not the ones we discover. They're the ones we've known all along. The truths we spend years avoiding. The truths waiting patiently in the background. The truths that quietly shape our lives while we pretend not to notice. Your soulmate has been carrying one of those truths. And listen to this. Recently, they asked themselves a question. A question that changed everything. If I disappeared tomorrow, what would I regret never saying? The answer came immediately. Not after hours of thinking. Not after careful analysis. Immediately. They would regret staying silent. They would regret pretending. They would regret leaving without sharing what was truly in their heart. That realization frightened them. Because suddenly they understood something important. Life doesn't always provide endless opportunities. Life doesn't always wait. People don't always get another chance. And that awareness has made every unspoken word feel heavier. Because your heart needs this right now, because regret often grows from silence. Not from honesty. Not from courage. From silence. Your soulmate is beginning to realize that. And listen to this. The strange thing is that they never planned to feel this way. They never woke up one day and decided to carry these emotions. They never expected certain memories to remain so vivid. They never expected certain feelings to survive so much time. Yet here they are. Still remembering. Still reflecting. Still wondering. Still feeling. And perhaps that's what surprised them most. Not that the feelings existed. That they endured. Because so many things in life change. People change. Circumstances change. Dreams change. Yet some emotions refuse to disappear. Your soulmate has watched these emotions survive every season of their life. And that realization has become impossible to ignore. Because your heart needs this right now, because lasting feelings reveal lasting truths. Not every emotion survives time. The ones that do deserve attention. Your soulmate is finally paying attention. And listen to this. There were moments when they almost spoke. Moments when honesty felt close. Moments when they nearly revealed everything. Yet something always stopped them. Fear. Timing. Uncertainty. 100 different reasons. And every time they stayed silent, they told themselves there would be another opportunity. Another chance. Another moment. Yet lately, they have stopped assuming tomorrow will solve everything. They have stopped assuming time will provide answers. They have stopped assuming silence will somehow create clarity. Because silence has already had enough time. And the answers never arrived. Only more questions. Only more reflection. Only more awareness. And that awareness keeps leading to the same conclusion. You mattered. More than they admitted. More than they expected. More than they ever planned. And now they feel like that truth deserves acknowledgement. Because your heart needs this right now, because acknowledging the truth is often the first step toward peace. Before healing. Before closure. Before new beginnings. There must be honesty. Your soulmate feels ready for that honesty. Perhaps for the first time. And listen to this. The truth they carry isn't complicated. It isn't dramatic. It isn't impossible to understand. It is actually very simple. Some people pass through our lives and leave small memories. Some people leave lessons. Some people leave temporary emotions. But a very rare person leaves a lasting impact. A mark that remains long after circumstances change. A mark that remains long after distance appears. A mark that remains long after time passes. In their heart, you became that person. And that realization has changed the way they see everything. The way they see the past. The way they see the present. The way they see themselves. And now, before making any major decision, before turning the page to a new chapter, before letting life carry them elsewhere, they feel compelled to admit one thing. You were never just a passing memory. You were never just another chapter. You became part of a story they still carry inside them. And that story remains unfinished. At least for now. If you enjoy spiritual and uplifting content, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, and your heart needs this right now, because after carrying a secret inside for so long, your soulmate has finally reached a point where keeping it hidden feels harder than revealing it. Not because they suddenly became fearless. Not because all uncertainty disappeared. Because the truth has become too powerful to ignore. And listen to this. For years, they convinced themselves that silence was the right choice. Silence felt safe. Silence felt controlled. Silence felt predictable. Whenever emotions became overwhelming, they retreated into silence. Whenever memories surfaced, they distracted themselves. Whenever honesty felt close, they found reasons to delay it. And at first, those reasons seemed reasonable. There was always a better time. A better moment. A better opportunity. But something strange happened. The longer they waited, the stronger the truth became. Because your heart needs this right now, because some feelings don't fade when ignored. Some feelings mature. Some feelings deepen. Some feelings quietly grow stronger while we pretend they don't exist. Your soulmate has watched that happen. And listen to this. The secret they've been carrying isn't something dramatic. It's not a shocking revelation. It's something much simpler. And perhaps much more powerful. The secret is that no matter how hard they tried to move forward without looking back, part of their heart kept returning to the same place. Again. And again. And again. At first, they thought it was coincidence. Then they thought it was nostalgia. Then they thought it was habit. But eventually those explanations stopped making sense. Because certain thoughts remained. Certain feelings remained. Certain memories remained. And somehow, they were all connected to you. Because your heart needs this right now, because the heart has a way of revealing what truly matters. Not immediately. Not dramatically. Patiently. Consistently. Your soulmate has finally started listening. And listen to this. There were nights when they questioned everything. Nights when they asked themselves difficult questions. Questions nobody else could answer. Why do these memories still matter? Why do these emotions still feel real? Why does this connection still feel unfinished? For a long time, they searched for complicated answers. Yet every complicated answer eventually collapsed. Only one simple answer remained. Because you mattered. And that truth was impossible to escape. Because your heart needs this right now, because simplicity often hides the deepest truths. We search for complex explanations because simple truths can feel overwhelming. Your soulmate spent years doing exactly that. And listen to this. The closer they moved toward honesty, the more they realized how much energy they had spent pretending. Pretending certain memories didn't matter. Pretending certain emotions had disappeared. Pretending certain questions no longer existed. That pretending became exhausting. More exhausting than honesty itself. And one day, they finally admitted something to themselves. Something they had never fully admitted before. They admitted that your impact on their life was real. Not imagined. Not exaggerated. Real. Because some people pass through our lives and leave small impressions. Others leave permanent ones. And your presence left a mark they could never fully erase. And your heart needs this right now because meaningful people often influence us in ways we don't immediately understand. Sometimes years pass before we realize how important someone truly was. Your soulmate is realizing that now. And listen to this. As they reflected more deeply, another realization appeared. One that surprised them. The thing they feared most wasn't rejection. It wasn't disappointment. It wasn't uncertainty. The thing they feared most was never being honest. Never telling the truth. Never acknowledging what their heart already knew. Because deep down, they understood something important. Silence protects us from vulnerability. But silence also prevents connection. Silence prevents closure. Silence prevents understanding. And eventually, silence creates regret. Your soulmate no longer wants to carry that regret. Because your heart needs this right now, because courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is choosing truth even when fear remains. Your soulmate is learning that lesson. And listen to this. Recently, they found themselves imagining the future. Not the fantasy version. The real version. The future years from now. The future where they look back on this chapter of their life. And one question kept appearing. Will I be proud that I stayed silent? The answer never changed. No. Because no matter what happens next, they know one thing. The truth deserves acknowledgement. The truth deserves a voice. The truth deserves honesty. And that realization has become impossible to ignore. Because your heart needs this right now, because peace often begins when we stop hiding from ourselves. When we stop running. When we stop pretending. When we finally allow the truth to exist openly. Your soulmate is moving toward that peace. And listen to this. The secret they have carried all this time is not really about romance. Not really about destiny. Not really about perfect outcomes. It's about significance. It's about the realization that some people become part of your emotional story whether you planned it or not. Some people teach you things. Some people help you grow. Some people change the way you see yourself. And some people remain in your heart long after logic says they shouldn't. You became one of those people. And that truth has followed them everywhere. Through different seasons of life. Through different challenges. Through different chapters. The connection remained. The memories remained. The lessons remained. Because your heart needs this right now, because what truly matters often survives time. That is exactly why this secret has become impossible to keep hidden. And listen to this. Now, standing closer than ever to a major decision, your soulmate feels something they haven't felt in a long time. Relief. Relief that they are finally being honest. Relief that they are finally acknowledging what they feel. Relief that they no longer have to fight the truth every day. Because whether the future brings answers or not, whether paths reconnect or separate, whether new chapters begin or old chapters close, one thing remains undeniable. You mattered. You mattered more than they admitted. More than they expected. More than they understood at first. And before moving forward, before turning the page, before allowing life to take them wherever it may lead, they feel there is one truth they can no longer keep hidden. You were never just a memory. You became a part of their journey. A part of their growth. A part of their heart. And that truth deserves to be spoken at least once. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, and your heart needs this right now, because after carrying their truth in silence for so long, your soulmate has begun feeling something they never expected. Not fear. Not anger. Not even sadness. A sense of urgency. A quiet awareness that time keeps moving forward whether people are ready or not. And listen to this. For a very long time, they believed there would always be another opportunity. Another conversation. Another chance. Another perfect moment when everything would finally make sense. Whenever their heart pushed them toward honesty, they told themselves to wait. Whenever they thought about speaking openly, they convinced themselves tomorrow would be better. Tomorrow became next week. Next week became next month. Next month became next year. And before they realized it, an enormous amount of time had passed. Yet despite all that time, one thing never truly changed. The feelings remained. The questions remained. The memories remained. And somehow, so did you. Because your heart needs this right now, because some truths survive every season of life. They survive distance. They survive distractions. They survive time. Your soulmate has watched this truth survive all three. And listen to this. Lately, they have found themselves reflecting more deeply than ever before. Not because they want to live in the past. Because the past keeps offering lessons. Lessons they ignored. Lessons they misunderstood. Lessons they finally understand. One lesson stands above all the others. The lesson that life moves much faster than we think. The people we care about are not guaranteed to stay forever. The opportunities we assume will always exist can disappear without warning. And suddenly, waiting no longer feels harmless. Waiting feels risky. If this message is touching your heart, take a moment to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. Because your heart needs this right now, because many of life's greatest regrets are not created by failure. They are created by hesitation. The words never spoken. The chances never taken. The truths never acknowledged. Your soulmate is becoming painfully aware of that. And listen to this. One night, while lying awake, they asked themselves a difficult question. A question they had avoided for years. If nothing changes, will I truly be happy? The silence that followed was revealing. Because deep down, they already knew the answer. No. Not completely. Not honestly. Not in a way that would bring lasting peace. Because something would always remain unfinished. Something would always remain unanswered. Something would always remain hidden. And hidden truths have a way of following people. Even years later. Because your heart needs this right now, because avoiding the truth never makes it disappear. It only delays the moment we must face it. Your soulmate feels that moment approaching. And listen to this. The closer they move toward their decision, the more clearly they see everything. The confusion that once felt overwhelming has started fading. The excuses that once sounded convincing have started losing power. The fears that once controlled every choice have started becoming smaller. Not because fear disappeared. Because truth became stronger. And truth has a strange effect on people. Once it becomes clear enough, it becomes impossible to ignore. Your soulmate is experiencing exactly that. And listen to this. Recently, they imagined themselves years into the future. Older. Wiser. Looking back on this chapter of their life. And they asked themselves, what would hurt more? Taking a risk? Or never knowing what could have happened? The answer arrived instantly. Never knowing. Because uncertainty eventually becomes exhausting. Wondering eventually becomes painful. Silence eventually becomes heavy. And they are tired of carrying that weight. Because your heart needs this right now, because sometimes courage is not about confidence. Sometimes courage is simply becoming more tired of hiding than speaking. Your soulmate has reached that point. And listen to this. Another realization appeared soon afterward. A realization that changed the way they viewed everything. They realized they had spent years giving fear a vote in every decision. Every important choice. Every emotional risk. Every moment requiring vulnerability. Fear was always consulted. Fear was always heard. Fear was always obeyed. But one day they asked themselves, what if fear has been wrong? That question changed everything. Because suddenly they understood something powerful. Fear had protected them from discomfort. But fear had also protected them from possibility. Fear had protected them from uncertainty. But fear had also protected them from growth. Fear had protected them from risk. But fear had also protected them from truth. And for the first time, they stopped treating fear like a trusted guide. Because your heart needs this right now, because fear can be useful, but it cannot be allowed to control an entire life. Your soulmate finally understands that. And listen to this. As they moved closer to honesty, they began noticing something beautiful. Instead of feeling more anxious, they felt lighter. Instead of feeling more confused, they felt clearer. Instead of feeling trapped, they felt free. Because every step toward truth removed a burden they didn't realize they were carrying. Every honest thought created a little more peace. Every acknowledgement created a little more clarity. And eventually, the path ahead stopped looking impossible. Because your heart needs this right now, because peace often begins the moment someone stops arguing with reality. Your soulmate has finally stopped arguing. And listen to this. Now they stand at a crossroads. Not between two people. Not between two destinations. Between two versions of themselves. The version that continues hiding. And the version that finally tells the truth. The version that keeps waiting. And the version that finally moves forward. The version controlled by fear. And the version guided by honesty. The decision feels enormous. Because in many ways, it is. Yet deep down, they already know which path feels right. And that realization has changed everything. Because your heart needs this right now, because the hardest decisions often become easier once we stop pretending we don't already know the answer. Your soulmate is finally admitting what their heart has known for a very long time. And listen to this. The reason they feel time is running out isn't because something dramatic is about to happen. It's because they finally understand that life cannot be lived forever in the space between truth and silence. Eventually a choice must be made. Eventually a chapter must end. Eventually honesty must arrive. And that moment feels closer than ever. For the first time in years, they are no longer asking whether the truth exists. They already know it does. Now they are asking whether they are brave enough to follow it. And for the first time, the answer feels like yes. Join our spiritual community by subscribing and keeping notifications on, so you never miss a message meant for your soul. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, and your heart needs this right now, because after all the waiting, all the silence, all the unanswered questions, and all the emotions they tried so hard to carry alone, your soulmate has finally reached a moment they can no longer postpone. A moment of truth. A moment of acceptance. A moment where a decision must finally be made. And listen to this. For a very long time, they believed there would always be more time. More time to think. More time to understand. More time to figure everything out. Whenever uncertainty appeared, they told themselves they would deal with it later. Whenever difficult emotions surfaced, they promised themselves tomorrow would bring clarity. Whenever honesty felt close, they stepped back and waited. But lately, something has changed. The future no longer feels endless. The opportunity no longer feels permanent. The silence no longer feels safe. And for the first time, they have started asking themselves a different question. Not, what if I speak? But, what if I never do? Because your heart needs this right now, because sometimes the questions we avoid become the questions that define our future. Your soulmate has been living with that question every day. And listen to this. The truth is that they never expected this journey to affect them so deeply. At first, they thought it was temporary. A passing feeling. A passing memory. A passing chapter. Yet time continued moving forward. Months passed. Seasons changed. Life evolved. And somehow, the connection remained. The memories remained. The feelings remained. Not unchanged. Stronger. Clearer. More difficult to ignore. Because your heart needs this right now, because time has a strange way of testing what is real. Things that aren't important often fade. Things that matter often survive. Your soulmate has watched this survive. And that realization has changed everything. And listen to this. Recently, they found themselves looking back over their entire journey. Every lesson. Every challenge. Every important moment. And while reflecting, they noticed something unexpected. Many people entered their life. Many people left. Many experiences came and went. Yet only a few remained emotionally significant. Only a few continued appearing in their thoughts during quiet moments. Only a few continued affecting their heart years later. You were one of them. And suddenly they understood something important. Meaning isn't measured by time alone. Meaning is measured by impact. The impact someone leaves behind. The change they create. The growth they inspire. The memories they leave. You left all of those things. Because your heart needs this right now, because some people become part of us without realizing it. They influence the way we think. The way we grow. The way we understand ourselves. Your soulmate believes you became one of those people. And listen to this. The closer they move toward their final decision, the more honest they become. Not with others. With themselves. For years they tried convincing themselves that silence was strength. Now they realize silence was fear. For years they thought avoidance was protection. Now they realize avoidance was delay. For years they believed waiting would solve everything. Now they understand waiting only postponed the inevitable. The truth. And the truth has finally arrived. Because your heart needs this right now, because eventually every important truth asks to be acknowledged. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. Your soulmate feels that moment has arrived. And listen to this. One evening, they sat completely alone. No distractions. No conversations. No noise. Just silence. The kind of silence that forces honesty. The kind of silence that removes every excuse. The kind of silence where the heart finally speaks clearly. And during that silence, a realization appeared. A realization so simple that it almost hurt. They had spent years preparing for conversations that never happened. Years imagining outcomes that never arrived. Years worrying about possibilities that never existed. Meanwhile, the one thing that remained real was the feeling itself. The feeling never disappeared. The feeling never surrendered. The feeling never stopped existing. And that realization changed everything. Because your heart needs this right now, because reality often survives every attempt to deny it. Truth survives. Your soulmate has finally accepted that. And listen to this. The decision they are making isn't about perfection. It isn't about certainty. It isn't about guarantees. It is about honesty. Pure honesty. The kind that asks, what do I truly feel? What truly matters? What am I afraid to admit? And every answer keeps leading them back to the same place. The same truth. The same realization. The same connection. The same person. You. Again. And again. And again. Until there is no denying it anymore. Because your heart needs this right now, because repeated truth eventually becomes certainty. The heart keeps repeating what matters until we finally listen. Your soulmate is finally listening. And listen to this. There is something else they need you to know. Something important. The decision they are making isn't motivated by anger. It isn't motivated by disappointment. It isn't motivated by frustration. It is motivated by self-respect. The realization that they can no longer live between honesty and silence. The realization that they deserve clarity. The realization that their heart deserves acknowledgement. For too long, they treated their own feelings as if they were unimportant. For too long, they prioritized fear over truth. For too long, they waited. Now they are choosing differently. Because your heart needs this right now, because growth often begins the moment someone decides they deserve honesty. Your soulmate has reached that moment. And listen to this. As they prepare to move forward, they feel something unexpected. Not sadness. Not fear. Peace. A quiet peace. The peace that arrives when someone finally stops fighting themselves. The peace that arrives when someone finally accepts reality. The peace that arrives when someone finally tells themselves the truth. That peace has changed them. And for the first time in a very long time, they feel free. Free from confusion. Free from endless questioning. Free from pretending. Because now they know. And knowing is powerful. Because your heart needs this right now, because clarity creates freedom. Even when the future remains uncertain. Your soulmate finally understands that. And listen to this. If they could leave you with one final message before stepping into the next chapter of their life, it would not be complicated. It would not be dramatic. It would simply be honest. They would say, before I disappear. Before life takes us in different directions. Before this chapter becomes a memory. There is something you must know. You mattered. More than you realize. More than I admitted. More than I understood at first. You changed something inside me. You taught me lessons I didn't expect to learn. You became part of my story. And no matter where life takes me next, that truth will remain. Because your heart needs this right now, because not every meaningful connection is measured by outcomes. Some are measured by impact. By growth. By transformation. By the mark they leave behind. And your soulmate believes you left that mark. And listen to this. Now the waiting is ending. The silence is ending. The uncertainty is ending. The chapter of wondering is closing. And a new chapter is beginning. A chapter built on honesty. A chapter built on acceptance. A chapter built on truth. Whatever happens next, they are finally ready to face it. Not because they have all the answers. Because they finally stopped running from the questions. And that has changed everything. Before you go, please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. May peace, light, and blessings always be with you.